Hey y'all, welcome back. So we are here to talk about Thunderbolts.
Just got out of
We
the Thursday 7 o'clock showing.
yes, and we we definitely have some stuff to unpack. So warning just ahead. Super spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, stop, go watch it, come back, pick up from here. Pick up from this point on. If not, and you don't care, keep on watching because, like I said, it's going to be a full deep dive, and we're going to spoil everything. So you have
Everything.
been yes, everything. You have been forewarned. So, Robert, where do you want to start? We can start from our experience there, watching it
Well,
with the trailers. We can talk straight into the movie.
I mean, in terms of experience, the theater was really warm.
Yeah,
Oh
it
man.
was.
I mean, overall, I mean, the IMAX was great. The sound was great.
Yeah, it was
My
actually
watch
loud.
my watch went off saying it was I was in a loud environment, which I don't usually get unless I'm at work and I'm right by the speaker. um, but overall, I thought the IMAX, it was great. The sound was quality was amazing. It was really warm and it wasn't all that packed. Like it was probably what, half the theater maybe.
Yeah, but everybody was definitely centralized because we were
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in
We
the
were like in dead
middle of the
center.
auditorium. Yeah,
Everyone
and
was
then
centralized. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't really feel much airflow. But I mean, I took in my spiral for the notes, and I don't know if you saw me during the movie. I was like going like that, like trying to do it like real slowly, not to make any noise. But I was just like, ooh, so hot in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you recall the trailers that we watched?
Uh, yes, I know they did show the Fantastic Four, the teaser. They did show Predator Badlands.
Mhm.
What else? What else? What else? What else? Tron.
So in order, I
Are you
have
in order?
Mission Impossible, which was more of the Get Tickets Now trailer, but it did
Yeah.
show some stuff I hadn't seen in the other trailers. We did get the Now You See Me 3
Oh
trailer.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What is it? Now You See Me, Now You Don't.
Yeah.
How to Train Your Dragon. That one felt more like an extended scene of from the actual movie than an actual trailer. We got the Superman trailer, which has been out forever, Predator Badlands, Fantastic Four, and then Tron Ares, which I'm calling now Cash Grab the movie.
If it makes money. Tron.
If it makes money.
Tron Legacy did not. So,
Yeah.
or at least
So
not as
the reason I
much.
wrote it down is because it took us 25 minutes to get to the actual movie starting,
Yeah.
and I'm not used to seeing that long of trailers before. It used to just be like 15 minutes and then like
Yeah. I
you're
think
good to
there
go.
was
But
also an ad in between the trailers too. I can't remember the ad, but I think you had gotten up. I don't know for
mm,
whatever reason. I think you got up during the Predator trailer, and then I think right after that there was an ad or something. And I was like, okay,
yeah,
cool, this is the end. And then I think they showed like two more.
yeah, I had downed like all my Mountain Dew, and I was like, "Yep, I need to go use the bathroom before," because I'm trying not to get up during the movie.
Yeah,
But yeah, I was taken aback by that. I was just like, "Man, there's a lot more trailers than usual." But I
yeah,
mean, hey, it got
because
us to the movie eventually.
yeah, they just released the full weapons trailer, and we're trying desperately to avoid that one.
Yeah, man, and they posted the new poster too
Yeah,
out
I
there, and
don't
I'm
think I
trying to stay
saw it.
away from that too. I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to like nothing.
I
I'm
saw
living.
it. If I did, I was like trying to forget, like I mentally blocked it or something.
Yeah, I'm living under a rock like Patrick Star. I'm like out of sight, out of mind. Only way I'm going up is like that on the rock
Right?
in
It's like,
August.
oh, a trailer, and we're back down.
Yeah. Nope.
Not
But yeah,
today.
so let's get into the movie. Let's talk about because I haven't had a chance to talk with you at all
Nope.
about this. I've been quiet. I was like, let's wait till we talk now. What did you think about the opening um, Marvel logo sequence?
So I was, they had its usual like crawl with the Marvel logo and the comic book pages like flipping down. I always try to look to see if I can notice some of the artwork in it. It did look a little modern. I mean, Thunderbolts is more of a modern team, probably like the last 30 years, and in terms of comics, that's modern, right? And then all of a sudden, the logo just like goes, it just starts to like seep black, like how you see in the trailer with the void. And I actually thought that was a kind of cool touch. I really wish that they would maybe add a little bit more touches to these logos instead of just everything being kind of the same. I did because there was another one that had in the previous, was it Deadpool Wolverine, or was it, I don't know, there was a previous logo that it kind of changed up the status quo on it, and it did something a little different.
It may have been. I know it's been a minute since I've seen it. I did want to mention though, because you just did mention it. This is the first movie in a while to where it wasn't scenes from the previous movies. This was the
Mm-hmm.
actual comics
Yeah.
that showed
Oh,
up in
that's
the logo,
true.
which it took
That is
it took
true.
me a
Yeah,
second.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, wait,
We
hold
went
on,
back to the
comics?
old, yeah, yeah, that is true.
Yeah, because I was looking at the comics that were flat. I mean, it goes so fast, but I was like, no, like it's the actual characters from the Thunderbolts,
Yeah,
or I guess the
and
Thunderbolt
then
run, or just the characters themselves. But
yeah, they did change it. Yeah, because it would be like Marvel Studios and have like what the more famous one you see at the end is Cap throwing his shield from the first Captain America that wrapped up the logo,
yep,
and yeah,
yeah,
I think they started that what at the was it the 10 years or was it
I
the Doctor Strange
believe
movie? I think it was
so.
something around then. That's when they started it. I don't
Yeah,
remember. Yeah,
I don't either. It's been it's been a while.
yeah.
So I do have a quick question for you. At the beginning of the movie, the company that they say is the company that they're referring to throughout the rest of the movie, right?
You thought they said Oscorp too, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Bro, when they
You
said,
saw
yeah,
me
yeah,
write it
yeah.
down. I
I
was
was like,
like, wait.
wait, did they just say it? And then you hear the company name more and more throughout the movie, and I was like, no, it's what was it, Oxcorp?
Yeah,
And I'm
something
like,
like
all
that.
right,
I was like, really?
yeah, yeah, we're being
Really?
sly. It's like, how can we make it Oscorp without making it Oscorp?
Yeah, can't get us, Amy Pascal. But yeah, I wanted to touch on that. So yeah, I mean, the opening scene. What did you think about that with the
I
Yelena
I had a
monologue?
feeling that's how the movie was gonna open. Um, just just watching the trailers, you can kind of pick up on how Marvel cuts their trailers now. You can pretty much maybe see, you can almost cut the whole movie together with some of the trailers they release. And I knew we were kind of opening it up this way with her monologue because it kind of sets the tone for like not only her character but the other characters that were going to be in the movie. So I mean, I don't know word for word her monologue, but basically she was like kind of lost, right? She just goes from job to job doing things that she questions and kind of regrets, in hindsight. And then you can kind of see like all the characters they're going to be bringing in, they're going to probably have that same moral compass, right? Or just that moral gray area where, they're probably not the best people, like, personal. So you
Yeah.
that kind of set the whole tone. And then she ends up doing a job, right, that she knows that she's just like, well, why am I doing this? I mean, I got to do it, or because I have nothing else if I don't do this job or any
Yeah.
job. So
It's also the way that it's painted too, though, like in the sense of a dark comedy, to where she's just like like
yeah,
killing people,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
she's like sad at the same time, and like very depressed about it. Just like, this doesn't bring me joy or life or anything like
yeah.
that. It's just it's another day at the office, but
And
shown
she's
like
monologuing
brutally
to her
executing
captor,
people.
yeah, and she's
Yeah.
monologuing to her captor,
Yeah.
yeah,
I will say that that scene was pretty loud too, especially when that scientist comes in after, and then just start with the gunfight.
yeah,
And just like, yeah, when those like guns were going off, I was like, ooh, I was like, okay, we're in the IMAX.
yeah,
So it felt nice to, have to, I'm not gonna say cover my ears, but to actually be like, huh, it actually hurts a little bit.
yeah. Yeah, with the IMAX at this theater is relatively new. What last maybe like a couple 6 months? I don't know. It hasn't been there for a long
At
time.
least I know at least this year,
Yeah.
because at the beginning of the year they had done a, I don't know if it was a Fathom, but it was at least the 7 anniversary showing,
Okay.
and it had
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
IMAX, and I was like, wait, what do you mean IMAX? This theater doesn't have IMAX. And then
Yeah.
lo and behold, that's how I found out that they remodeled and got the IMAX. So
Yeah.
hey,
So
no,
I mean the visual they've had large premium formats, but the sound has never been you know as a true IMAX, right? The IMAX theater we used to go to.
yeah,
So
oh
yeah,
yeah,
the
oh god,
sound, yeah,
no,
yeah.
yeah,
So the
I'm
sound,
walking out deaf like I just left a
yeah.
concert.
So
Like
the sound in this new IMAX screening is by far an upgrade than what they've had previously. So
can't
that was
confirm,
nice. Yeah.
can't confirm. So yeah, I mean that scene goes along, and then if I remember correctly, we cut straight to Bucky.
Yes,
We
Bucky is
cut to the
going
congressional hearing.
the hearing. Yep. And at first, you kind of like he's kind of getting interviewed. He has no idea what he's doing. Poor guy. Um, yeah, he's getting interviewed, and you kind of like it kind of gives a sense that it might be about him. Um, but it fast forwards, and Val is director of the CIA. Just not a good person. Is the one sending Yelena and everybody else like on these covert black ops types of missions. But she's on, I guess, what trial for impeachment as the director of CIA or something. I don't know the whole judicial landscape of how that works. I'm going to take Marvel's word for it. Um, and if not, they can just be like, we changed things during the blip. It's okay. But yeah, she's going through her whole impeachment trial. When she finds out that they might have evidence against her, she wants to go ahead and clean house with OxCorp. That means fire sale everything, including her assets. So
Mm-hmm.
she ends up sending. We don't know. We don't know at first. At first, it's Yelena. So she gives Yelena a target at some like underground like facility type thing, and it looked like the
Uh,
Utah desert.
a mile underground in the
Yeah.
desert is
So
the
she
way it's described.
gives Yelena the target of going after Ghost. We see Ghost like enter the building. Yelena follows, and then Yelena's going through some like documents when she gets down all the way into the like bunker. And then I think John Walker comes in. He gets sent in. Yelena is his target. Uh, so they end up having a scuffle, and then I believe Taskmaster comes in right after because I think that's who was Taskmaster? Was it John Walker going after? Was she going after John Walker?
Um,
Because Yelena
I
was
I
Ghost.
believe so.
Ghost
I
was
believe that's
Taskmaster. Taskmaster was John Walker. John Walker was Yelena. So we
yeah.
have
It was like
yeah
it was sort of like breadcrumb, like one after the other, sort of
yeah
like thing. Like you take this one out, that one will take that one out,
yep
that one will take that one out. I don't remember the order, but yes, I
yeah.
do remember that. I just want to cut you just real short just before we
No, nope,
continue
no
on to that.
problem. Yeah, yeah.
There was two things I wanted to bring up before we touch on that. So rewinding back to the trial, or not trial, but at least the
Yeah, it's
hearing.
like a hearing, right?
Um yeah, so when Bucky is introduced, there's two pieces of information that they give us. So they talk about that he's a freshman
Mm-hmm.
congressman. So, we got a taste of it earlier this year in Captain America Brave New World,
Yeah.
um, where, he's going to be running at least for it. So at least now he is actually a congressman. And he also says Brooklyn constituents.
Yep.
So I thought that was really cool that he's
It's a
Brooklyn
callback.
still represent. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's still representing his home. Um, the other thing, and this, it's in the trailers. It's like the one thing that's been in all the trailers. It's Yelena meeting back up with her dad,
Mm-hmm.
Red Guardian, and them having their conversation. They say that it's been 1 year since they saw each other.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure as far as the timeline goes. I know we've been trying to piece that
Yeah.
down, but I made sure that I wrote that down,
Yeah.
that it had been a year at least since they had talked. I don't know if it had been a year since everybody got brought back or what it is, but I figure
It can't be
more or
right.
less, especially since Nat's dead. So, that's the one
Yeah.
thing that's sort of like, I guess maybe a year after Endgame
I don't.
is when this is supposed to take place. Well, at least as far as since they've talked, I would think, because she got
I
brought
mean,
back around that. Well, oh no,
it was
because she got brought
2023.
back around then.
But then
Um,
Hawkeye takes place, I think, in 2025. Is that the last time we see Elena?
yeah, because that means all of this has to have taken place
Yeah, it's probably off screen.
immediately, or at least a couple months after Hawkeye.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that scene in particular probably happened off screen. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe one day we'll try and figure out the timeline logic, at least post
Yeah,
game.
I wanted to make sure I brought that up though, because I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, here's something for that. That's for you." So that way, it's
Trying to make
like,
sense of this timeline.
I know that you try so hard for
Man.
that too, and I'm like, yeah, I wanted to at least give you that.
I think the shows mess it up quite a bit. Like it's just
Yeah,
too many people doing too many things, and you're just like, well, okay, well this can't take place then, so let's just make this take place a year later, and then like, oh, well now we just gotta, yeah. But because I mean, the Thunderbolts has to take place after Falcon and Winter Soldier.
oh
Because I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
so or not Falcon, Captain America, right? I mean,
yeah,
because they reference that movie. So I mean,
yeah.
so it has to be at least a few months after Captain America.
Yeah, well, we'll have to put together a cork board and stuff like
Yeah,
that, the timeline. But yes, to
like
cut
make it
back
make
to
sense.
to cut back to what you were saying, where we had left off. So yeah, all of that happens. Yelena's tasked with, yes, go to the desert, this location. I need you to take out Ghost. Get there. Chaos ensues. So yes, that scene in particular, once they do start the fighting, let's discuss that a little bit more.
Do you want me to just pick it up right where
Oh yeah, right where you left
right
off.
where so yeah, they end up scuffling. Um I don't remember the everything that happened, but Taskmaster is was I think fighting Ghost at one point. Ghost gets like kind of sent away, and then Taskmaster starts walking towards Yelena and John, and then boom, Ghost reappears right in front of Taskmaster, shoots her right in the head, and just boom,
Yeah,
like oh,
like
I mean, yeah, I mean, like, wow, okay, that happened. Like, I mean, I guess we did predict that Taskmaster was gone in like the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie. I don't
yeah,
know the
but
timestamp.
like
I didn't
that
expect
that
like that. No,
that was like
yeah, I didn't expect like one of the group was gonna do it.
yeah, because it's not like, oh, a headshot. It's like almost execution
Yeah, point
style
blank,
headshot
boom.
to the face.
Yeah, like the barrel of the gun was like 3 inches from her face.
Yeah, like they really push the PG-13 rating
Yeah.
on this one. Like
Oh
I'm
yeah.
really shocked. Like I feel like there's this movie sort of reminds me of those movies back in like the mid 2000s, late early 2010s, where they had like, oh, here's the PG-13 version of the movie and here's the R-rated
Oh yeah.
version that's also included, or the unrated version.
Yeah.
Like it felt like it really towed the line where, oh yeah, this is the PG-13 version we got, but when they release it, we're gonna get the
R-rated.
unrated
Yeah.
R edition where it shows like the impact and like the brain matter just
Like the Mortal Kombat fatalities
yeah,
from the game.
yeah, like John Wick headshots.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, but we called it.
Yeah.
We knew it was gonna happen. We didn't know how, but they make
I,
sure she's dead.
I bet you they put enough film into the beginning to where, because movies get rated, based on how many times you say the F word or how much violence it can be. Like probably it's usually like in the beginning or the end or something like that. If you kind of put it in the middle, you can kind of get away with certain things. So I imagine
Yeah.
like that headshot happened like at a point where they were like, okay, we cleared the time, we got this, let's do it.
Yeah. Also, actually, now that you bring that up, and I didn't even write that down, they don't say the F word at all, right?
No, no, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I didn't catch it once,
No,
which
I bet you
is
with that headshot and an F bomb, they would have been like, nope, sorry, you're
yeah.
gonna lose one. Yeah, you can only do one.
Tell him, Peter,
Yeah,
you only get one.
you only get one.
But yeah, so during that they talk about, when they start figuring out like, wait, hold on. Clearly,
Yep.
we've all worked for her. She's trying to get rid of us. And this is around the time when Yelena, like prior to them in the scuffle, that's when she finds the paper with
Yeah.
Sentry and all that stuff.
Project Century. Yep.
Um, one of the one of the lines that got me is when they're talking and they talk about liabilities, and is it John Walker says, "Speak for yourself." I don't know why that line made me laugh, but yeah. So I don't remember if it's on that scene because that's when we get introduced to Bob
Bob. Yep.
when they're fighting, and then the whole thing with the furnace. Oh no, we're in a furnace. They're gonna torch
Yeah.
the evidence. We got to find a way to get out of here. Um, I think it's after that. Like right after they get out of the room, they destroy that little sound barrier that's causing ghosts to not be able to warp out of the room. They get out, but they give us the they give us a little brief recap of John Walker's story from Falcon and the Winter Soldier about how he is it Ghost that says it? He's like, "Weren't you the one that killed a guy in
Yeah.
front of the whole world?"
Yeah.
So it was like they do like a really quick recap of it, I guess, for
Yeah.
the rest of the public who didn't watch Falcon and the Winter
Yeah.
Soldier, don't remember
And
it from
yeah,
5
and it
years
was
ago.
kind of like sarcastically quipped too. So it's like, you know, kind of like building some kind of like team camaraderie, right?
Yeah.
From the early beginning. And I mean, you're going to get like a lot of that through, as the movie progresses. Just especially like when they're in the car, just kind of just being quirky and quippy. I think they did just enough where it wasn't like overdone. So it was,
Yeah, it was a little cheesy at the beginning of
yeah,
it, like, when they first get together, I didn't really care for the dialogue, but once they were together and, we'll talk about it in a little while,
yeah,
that's when it got a little bit more cohesive, a little more, "Okay, this feels natural." It
yeah.
doesn't feel, scripted, it doesn't feel like, "Oh, like Marvel
Yeah.
humor, haha, I get it,
I
get
think,
it."
yeah, I think it works from John because I mean he even did that in the Falcon and Winter Soldier in the beginning, but with Ghost, it was just kind of like we don't really know much of, like, she was just always angry in
Yeah.
Ant Man and the Wasp, so it's like we didn't get that side of her. So it kind of shows maybe like they're kind of like taking some of the good parts and then kind of writing it sort of differently, making it, giving her a little bit more character than just being angry, right? Like just anger.
Yeah, and it's also kind of resolved in Ant-Man and the Wasp once because the thing that drives her through the whole thing, one, she's upset about her parents. It happened to her as a kid.
Yeah,
Um, and then on top of that, she's driven by I need this to stop, but it's also driving her crazy
yeah,
because it's ripping her apart literally
yeah.
and bringing her
Because she
back
was in so
together.
much pain.
Yeah, and then remember that's one of the last lines that Janet tells
Mm,
her at the end of Ant-Man when she does it and she puts her hands to her head and she was like, like, oh my god, like you're in so much pain, and then she helps her take it away like for a split second. So I guess scenes deleted that we'll probably never see, but I guess she helped her a little bit more
yeah,
uh from that. But yeah, it seems like she's more of a she seems a little bit more set
yeah.
like into who she is in this one. Because it's sort of like what she reminds me of. She reminds me of a Raven from Teen Titans.
Okay, I can
Is the
kind of get
vibe I
that.
was
Yeah,
is the vibe I was getting from her. So like she's doing her own thing. Like she's like,
yeah,
guys, I got this. Like I've been doing this for a while,
yeah,
sort of thing. So that's the vibe I was getting from her. But yeah, I just wanted to do that. And then when they're getting out of the furnace
yeah.
and they're trying to figure out how to break the thing, John Walker just with the on your left.
That was good. I was like, that was a good callback. I don't think that'll
Yeah.
ever get old with anything Captain America related.
Oh God, no, no. And I love that he he made it his own in his own way.
Yeah,
Um so after they get out, they get thrown against it from the blast and stuff like that, and that's when Yelena's knocked out and we start getting that reoccurring memory that she has of being in the forest, and she's hiding from that little girl. She comes out, she's like, I found you and stuff like that, but it was actually a trap.
Yep.
And that the little girl ends up taking a bullet. Like I said, this movie's violent. Even that
Yeah.
scene itself was like really, I was like, oh dang,
Which
all
is like
right.
what, probably like 6, 7 years old at the time, like early Red Room training, luring probably one of her
Yeah,
only
and
friends. Like,
the fact that they showed the blood though,
yeah,
like that was the thing. Like the blood on the book, I was like, oh wow, okay, like we're
yeah.
going for it. And
Like in Yelena's timeline, this is probably what, right after she got separated from, Natasha and Alexei,
yeah,
and I don't remember the mom's name, but yeah, when they first got back to like Russia or whatever it was, and they got separated, she probably just got thrown right into the Red Room. Had no friends. That was probably her only friend, and I
yeah.
guess she was tasked of luring her out and seeing if she had the will, or I don't know if I want to call it that, the will. That's just
I,
seems
I
like a
think maybe now that we talk it out,
fortitude.
maybe yeah, like the friend was too sensitive.
Yeah,
Like she was like, oh, she's sensitive, she'll never last. So you
and
got to
it's
be the
also
one
a
to take her out.
testing her, like, well, are you willing to make a sacrifice, right? Can you sacrifice your friend
Yeah.
for the mission, right?
Yeah,
Kind of
that's
brutal.
something that which we'll talk on in a little while, towards the end when she has the other flashback of that training.
Yep.
It's a lot of like just that, like they abused weakness.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, you're weak, you're getting punished for it. And the reason I bring that up is during that whole scene, that's when she wakes back up, and then we find that Bob's standing there, right, watching it.
No,
I don't remember. I just know she
that was
wakes
with
up and she
John. They were
realizes.
both
Oh,
laying
gotcha.
down and their hands were touching.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
Bob and
so
Helena's,
this
yeah.
one, it was just like they woke up and their
Their
hand,
hands were like,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, they were like that, and then takes his hands off. So I bring that up because to talk about it, but right after, I don't know if you noticed it, but it was just something that I've noticed that I really enjoy about movies. I don't know why, but it's stuff that happens in the background. And it's stuff that has to do with movement, or I don't know, just like when something's going on in the background, I don't know why it makes me laugh. But when they're talking, they're having that discussion, you just see Ghost in the background, and she's just like dusting herself off. I don't know
Hmm.
why I found that funny, because she's just like, she's doing it a certain way. And she's like,
I think I do agree. Like, it gives movies like an extra like dimension. So it's like, we're
yeah,
always focused on the people in the foreground because that's where the camera and everything wants us to be focused on. But if everything in the background was just static and not moving, it's like it kind of feels like it is staged, right? And
yeah,
if people are moving or whatever it is that's going on, like, I mean, I want to jump forward a little bit with scenes like that when Bucky drove the thing through Avengers Tower and they were all fighting in the lobby. I was like
yeah,
looking in the background to see if like anyone was noticing this fight because like you can, I don't know if it was I don't know how they filmed this movie. I don't know if it was a stage or whatever, but if these things was just added in. But no, you saw people like running and then they like looked inside and then they ran away. I'm like, okay, cool. It's like they're reacting to their surroundings. They're not
yes,
just like,
and
it's not just filled in like backdrops, right? That's what I like.
yeah, and while we're on that subject, I'm gonna segue like to a completely different movie, but it's the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Is and we've talked about this before. Sonic
Mhm.
the Hedgehog, the third one, is the crab in the background when Stone's talking to Dr. Robotnik, I think, and then the background you just see the crab sinking.
Mhm.
But then by the end of the phone call, when they're done, the crab's like almost completely submerged. It's that
Yep.
continuity. Like, I don't know why it was just so funny seeing that giant crab just sinking like that in the back. But yeah, like you said, it's the reaction to the
Yeah.
little things in the background. It gives it that extra dimension. It
Yeah.
makes it feel more lived in. And there's something else, now that you mention that and you talk about that scene, I'll talk about it later, but there's something else that I was paying attention to in the background because I was waiting for it. It never happened, but I was waiting for it. But yes, they're down at the bottom, they touch their hands, they break apart, and I had wrote it down, but it was when they were still in the actual room before it had gotten incinerated. When they started raiding Taskmaster's body, what did John Walker say? You're like, she'd want me to have
Yeah, she
this.
want me to have this. Yeah.
Just
Like, well,
like
she
that
ain't
whole scene
using it
with,
anymore.
yeah, it's like they just Ghost
Like,
just shot her.
Ghost
And she's
just
like,
shot her, and now she's taking her things. Like true,
yeah,
what, like true video game RPG style stuff.
yeah,
I just
like
killed someone. Now I'm gonna just like loot them.
yeah, like that. I had wrote it down after just because I was trying to like take notes while watching it, and yeah, so it was just one of those little things that I found funny. Then we fast forward a little bit. They're stuck down at the bottom. They're in the elevator shaft. How are we gonna get out of here? And then they do the whole, Bob, I
Yeah,
have an idea. They do the lock arms back to back, going all the
four
way
people
up.
just like shimmying up. Prior to that, John tried to jump. Uh, didn't realize how much down they were, so he comes
Yeah.
crashing back down. But yeah, anyways, they like shimmy their way up. They get to the top, and yeah, so they get to the top, and everybody's arguing like, okay, well, who's gonna let go first, and try to grab on the ledge, and then try to say everybody else. John was like, I got this, and he grabs Elena's baton for something. I didn't even see it. Everything kind of happened
Because he
so
was
fast.
he was gonna like put it on there, something like
Something,
hook
yeah,
on it, like so that way he could reach it.
yeah. He gets up, goes somehow, like does something, like skids down the wall. I
Yeah,
don't know what
stabs a
she had.
sword into the wall or
Something.
something
Maybe
like
she took
that.
Taskmaster's sword. I don't know. Maybe that's one of the things she took. And I think she grab Yelena, and then Yelena shoots the thing to grab, like a little grappling thing to grab Bob before they fall. And then
Yeah,
then John pulls everybody up, and then that's when the last person he grabs Bob by the hand, and then he kind of has his own void, like little memory of whatever. You see him. It's the scene from the trailer where he's sitting in his house, looking at his phone and old articles of himself as Captain America, and like the fall of the soldier, and his kids in the crib crying. Then his wife comes in and starts kind of like, "You're not watching your kid," and he's just like, "Well, this is me. Why, look, the kid's fine. This is me watching him. If you don't like how I do it, then just watch him yourself." And then he leaves, and that's kind of how we find out that, hey, his wife left him or whatever, took the kid, left him. So it's probably why he's doing these jobs for Val, to get back maybe
yeah.
some good credit.
The thing about that scene too, it was the one thing I think I wanted a little more in this movie, but we got it, quite a bit in Falcon and Winter Soldier, whether it be because it's more time or because of how it was written. But those serious John Walker moments,
Mm-hmm.
that's where, Wyatt Russell really shines as an actor. And you get to see him like, he does despair so good, like regret and
Yeah,
all of that in the emoting. And you don't really get to see it too much in here. You see it somewhat, but he's used more. Honestly, he's kind of used more the way that I thought they were going to use Red Guardian as the butt of the joke.
yeah,
But he takes on that mantle a little bit more with like uh, his silliness, his stupidness, I guess, or just the way that they paint him in this. Like they focus more on that. They make
yeah,
that the focal point versus that more serious side. But I'm so happy we were able to get at least that scene in there so we could
yeah,
see him, just have that, because those were some of the better parts, if not the best parts of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
yeah.
Is those conversations he had with Lamar when he was in the locker room. Like you got to see him be human and real. This one, it paints him more like a clown.
Yeah. And I mean,
But yeah,
yeah, and Wyatt Russell's, he, like you said, he's a great actor, and he can certainly pull off that range. I think that's maybe him being kind of like that butt of the joke gives more, I guess, power to his dramatic scenes, because they're like, oh, he's just the comedy or what, the comic relief. But then when you get those moments, and then it's like, there was remarks later on in the film where talk about how he, this family and the failings of it or whatever, and you kind of see his face go from like to like you can see it on his face.
yeah.
But yeah, so we progress. They're trying to break their way out, and then they end up surrounded by Val and some contingent of military personnel.
Yeah.
So they have like
Well, prior to that, sorry to interrupt you. Prior
a
to that is their Val's actually in the limo because they had cut back to Bucky
yeah.
and Val, and they're having what was, I forgot what they called it. It was
It was like a
FFF or
first
something like
first
that.
responders. I think they were like commemorating the some anniversary, or I don't know if it was but whatever, for the Battle of 2012 in New York or whatever. I think they're
Yeah, where
commemorating first responders just in general.
where we end up getting like literally the museum
Yeah.
dedicated, like you said, the Battle of New York from 2012. But right after that, they show her and Mel leaving in the limo, and they're talking about everything, about how, oh, is it done yet? Have they been taken care of? No. And that's when she's like, okay, well, we need to send them out there. Is that when they start talking about the Century Project?
I think so. Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, because she sees that and she's like, who's this guy?
Yeah. And then they did the facial recognition, I believe, and it came up like whatever, and they were like, oh no, everybody died, or no one was supposed to have. I don't. Yeah, no one was supposed to have lived, and apparently Bob Bob lived.
Bob
So then
survived.
they literally just jetted all the way from like what, Washington to Utah in what, like two
Yeah.
hours maybe.
So the reason I bring that up is one, like I said, to discuss that, but it's also because that's also how we find out that Alexei,
Was the one
Red
driving.
Guardian, was the limo driver, because prior to that, at the beginning, when him and Yelena are talking, you find out that's what he does for a
Yeah,
living, is he's a limo driver. So I had wrote down in my notes at the time, I was like, what are the odds that he's the driver
I
for
think
the limo? But
he.
there's a
Yeah,
line that comes in later on,
yeah.
that it's like, okay, so they came back to that. So I was like, okay. But that was one of the things I had written down. Like, what are the odds? Like, what are the odds? I was gonna say, just because I want to mention it right now. So the character of Mel, Geraldine, Viswanathan, I'm so happy to see her in the MCU, because prior to Miss Marvel coming out, I thought she would have made a cool Miss Marvel.
Okay,
I thought she would have been cool, but this was like back in the day when Blockers came out. I don't know if you ever saw
I
Blockers,
did
but
not
she
know.
was in it. She is funny,
Yeah,
funny in that movie, and it was cool to see her in here. So I'm hoping like they keep her on in
yeah.
some capacity, because I think she was a good strong part of the movie. I wish they would have let her do some more of her more comedy with
Mm,
it, but hey, maybe in a future project.
yeah,
But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So let me see. So back to what we were talking about. Speaking of jet setting to Utah, so
yeah. I'm guessing some like Stark planes or something. I don't know. They seemed like they got to DC, from DC to Utah in what, like 2 hours or whatever, because they had an armed personnel waiting for Ghost, Yelena, John, and Bob, all whatever. They hatch a plan where it's kind of like, there's still kind of seeing these, crumbs of a team kind of coming together, of like working together. Sure, it's not going great. Like Yelena comes up with a plan, but John wants to do this. So they end up just like kind of doing a plan. The plan doesn't work. And then after that, they're like, why didn't you do this? You kind of see it. It's there, but it's still not there. Anyways, they ended up like sneaking out. I think Ghost went to go get a getaway vehicle. They dressed up as the security personnel to leave,
yeah.
um, acting like Bob got injured. And then they tried to drive away, get caught. And then that's when Bob, kind of makes the quote sacrifice and runs away and gets everything pointed at him. Everybody unloads their automatic weapons on him, just to find out, hey, he's kind of invulnerable. And then he's kind of like going through a certain power where he's starting to float. And then all of a sudden he realizes he's powerful, and he just jets up into the sky, like sonic booming up there. I think they
Yeah.
said what, he kind of like exploded a little bit, and then he comes crashing down like a meteor and just boom, creates like pretty much just craters the whole like mountain thing that they were on.
Yeah, knocks them over,
Yeah, knocks
flips
the whole like
the
armored
car that
vehicle. Yeah,
Yelena and them are in, like rolls
yeah,
down the hill. Um, while we're talking about that, I forgot to mention, and it's the reason why another reason why I brought up the event that they were at, the fundraiser, whatever it was. Um, that's when Mel and Bucky
yeah.
start talking as well, and Bucky's giving her his card.
Trying to work her.
Just yeah, he's trying to work her for the side and be like, Val's doing some shady stuff, and don't you want to be on the right side? And one of the things that they say, and it's something that's mentioned earlier during the hearing as well, Avengers are gone.
Yeah,
That
no
is
one's
the
coming.
recurring, yeah, that's the recurring motif throughout the entire movie. It said during that hearing, it said right there, with Mel, she says it to Bucky. She's like, the Avengers are gone. Like, they're
Yeah,
gone. It's brought up
yeah,
so many times to that point, and I just wanted to bring up that little nugget
yeah.
because
Because
that'll be coming back later.
yeah, and then even prior, she like calls him. Like this is after that meeting. She had called him. That's the scene in the trailer where he's like in his apartment, and you see him pulling his arm out of his dishwasher. But she like calls him and even says, I think it might have been right there where they were talking about like she was in high school when the Battle of New York happened, and he made the comment
Yeah,
like I was like 90, you know,
yeah,
and then because you can kind of see her having like a crisis, like right a conflict of faith or whatever. And she was like, before they hung up, she was like, well, you can track my phone, right? And he was like, well, yes, but I don't do that anymore. And then she had to cut off the phone because yeah, when he shows up later, like, well, okay, well, how's he show up? And then you realize, oh yeah, he can track the phone. He kind of knew the general area where they were going to be, and after that, at that point, just follow the gunfire, right?
yeah. Because at the same time, to go back, he's working with Congressman Gary,
Yeah,
because they're trying, to
trying to
bring Val
impeach,
down. Yeah, they're trying to. Yeah, they say impeach a lot in this
impeach,
movie.
impeach, and then what? Throw in a federal prison.
Yeah, something along those lines. Like that's the whole thing is they're trying to flip someone to be like, no, like we need to get her
Yeah,
like out of
so,
here because we know she's doing something corrupt. She's doing something off the books, and yeah, like I feel like that's what sort of gets Bucky into the story because they focus on him as a congressman, so he's sort of playing like the political side and the political game
yeah,
of it. But then once he's talking with them and he starts finding out, then it's sort of like, okay, now I'm gonna get involved in a superhero capacity. But
yeah,
like you said during that conversation, when he's because the reason I bring it up is because when he's having that conversation with Congressman Gary, he tells him like, oh no, we have something planned for her, like
yeah.
it's something big. And he's like, read the
Read the
reports or whatever.
packets.
Yeah, read the packets. And then during that scene, that's when he's reading it while he's eating
Eating
and
and
then having him
drops.
wash the hand
Yeah, he drops like
or the
food
arm.
all over the packets and the shirt and everything.
Yeah, and that's when they're having that conversation about, oh, you can track my phone.
Yeah, because they're trying to
So
flip her.
yeah.
So
So to cut back to Sentry, flying,
yeah,
all
and
that collapses.
yeah, it kind of fast forwards a little bit to like I guess the next day because it's sunlight. Val and her
Which
team is
which right there, I'm sorry to cut you off again. I need to say it. The desert, a real location.
right,
It
right
was so nice. It was so nice to
on
see a
look.
real
I mean,
setting.
even the her jumping off the building. I mean, they
Yeah,
filmed that, and they
real
actually had like a stunt person do like base jump off of it too.
yeah, like
So
real locations. Like it
yeah,
was especially the desert shot, which if you see it, and IMAX, you'll see what I'm talking about. They utilize like the actual full screen
yep,
for those shots, especially when they're pulling Sentry up in the thing, the little case, and the helicopter takes off. Like it's a beautiful shot. I was like, oh my
yeah.
god. It was like a desert, a sky, the real sun. Like it was just so nice to see, and not just all CGI'd. Like, oh yeah, we'll bring in some
Yeah.
sort of futuristic helicopter and drop it down, and make a spectacle. It was like no, like it looked like it was practical. it
Yeah.
was practical. So I wanted to make sure to mention that. But as you were,
Yeah. So they're retrieving Century, and like I said, he's being taken away in kind of like a I don't know, like what they call it.
like a container, like
Yeah,
a
like a
housing unit, or
yeah for a bot, right? For a body, not like
yeah,
not on like a
sarcophagus.
coffin, right? But
Yeah,
anyways,
more like a sarcophagus.
helicoptered away, and then we see John, Yelena, and Ghost trying to what's her name, Ava, right? I don't want to keep calling her Ghost.
Yeah.
Ava are trying to make their way through the desert, and then they get to a
Lo and
point where
behold.
yeah, lo and behold, they see a car coming up, and then they realize it's a limo, and then Alexei's like shouting, and Yelena's like, no, no, please, please, no, please, no. And then they ended up getting it, getting a ride from. Oh, he goes and explains how he got there, right? And we kind of already went over that. And they end up all getting in the limo, and they're driving off.
But that's where we get the line though about how he's like, oh, I do anything to to try to get close,
Yep,
and that to them, and that's how he ended up being her driver
or driver. Yeah.
initially in the earlier scene.
But yeah, they're kind of like in the car, bickering, all this other stuff. And then that's when Alex kind of mentioned that, hey, it's kind of a team here. And then I think John makes the offhanded remarks like, what are we going to call ourselves? The Thunderbolts, which is a reference to what Yelena's 6-year-old soccer team or whatever that she was the goalie of, sponsored by some dude's tire shops, or
Yeah.
maybe not even the guy's tire shop. But so that's where the Thunderbolts name came from. The soccer team was the Thunderbolts. And then Alesky took that and was like, yeah, that's the Thunderbolts. We find out that they are now being kind of chased by 3 armored vehicles with like cannons
Yeah.
on them. So they open fire. John is using his shield to kind of like hold off. Which is his shield made out of something? Doing that?
So we didn't talk about his shield. I
Yeah,
like the it's different from
it's
the
not.
shield that he's given at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Yeah,
and
because
this
that was
one is
homemade.
more,
Because
yeah.
he made a
Well,
shield.
no, no, but he gets one at
Does he
the
get
end
one?
of yeah, when he gets the new suit,
Okay.
if I remember correctly. And I know with the shield he has now, it's red and black
Yeah.
on this one, which I thought was like a really cool. I thought that was really. I was like, I have the cup somewhere. Oh yeah. Um, but yeah, that's the shield. Like you said, he uses the shield in the limo to block everything, and he's just like. But yeah,
Yeah.
they never
Said
they
what it's
never
like
talk
made
about
of.
the shield, say what it
It's
is.
not vibranium. It's definitely not adamantium from the Captain America movie. It's made out of something, but it can at least stop almost like 50 cal. I think that's what it was. I mean, I'm no
Yeah, I mean, it
munitions expert,
definitely
but
stopped.
yeah,
It definitely stopped the bullets. That's for sure.
yeah. And then that's when you see the scene from the trailer. Bucky rides in Terminator style. He
Literally.
literally, yeah, he takes out 2 of them, and then yeah, one guy comes out with like a shotgun. He grabs a shotgun, does a little Terminator
Yeah,
like
flips it.
reload, shoots off the thing, grabs it, and makes it flip, and then he takes out the 4 in the limo. I think I don't remember. Does it cut to Elena after that? Yeah, because they arrive in New York, don't they? Or because
Yes.
yeah,
So
that's when
so we
Bob
get the
wakes up.
yeah, because we get the Bucky, the T2 reference, and then that's
Yeah,
when we cut to the Watchtower
the Watchtower, which
as
is the
its
Sentry's base. That is what the
yes,
Sentry called his base.
former Avengers Tower. Um, but yeah, it's you see Val and Mel arrive in the helicopter. Val's putting on like the code with the necklace, and she says, "Does this make me look motherly?"
Yeah,
And then that's when she goes in. Bob wakes up, and then they start having the discussion, and she's telling him about um, what did they how did they start the discussion?
it was basically like she was pretty much nurturing and kind of grooming him a little bit. She was like, I was there from the beginning. She's just kind of telling him about his past because Bob didn't really remember too much. So she was just basically telling him everything. And then like everything that he kind of wanted to hear. Like, no, they don't really believe in you, but I believe in you. So, I'm the only one. You are worth something. Basically just going, giving him the whole spiel. Like she wants to control him, right? Not the other ones. Like the other ones will actually look out for him.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, so that kind of goes. And then she's starting to like kind of train him, getting his powers. He's doing like some kind of display where he starts boiling the water and it breaks the cup.
Well, before that, remember what happens during that discussion, though.
Yeah, everything just like,
So during that discussion, they grab
oh, yeah,
hands,
she
and
touches him.
then
Yeah.
and then we see like a flashback to her childhood.
Yep.
She's like in a cellar talking to her dad. Her dad goes to talk to some guy, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I thought he was, he asked me where you lived and if I knew you, and I said yes." And then he ends up killing
Yeah.
her
Her dad.
dad.
Yep.
Yeah, and
In
then it
front of
cuts
her.
back. Yeah, and it was enough to shake her to
Yeah.
like, let me
Visibly,
step
yeah.
out of the room for a second. And then that's when she talks with Mel. Is that when they talk about the kill switch?
I believe so. Yes. I mean, it was
Gotcha.
right around then. It was right around then because later, it's shortly after where they start kind of going over his power set and what he can do, and that's when the whole like, because I think when she had kind of like flustered him a little bit, the whole building was turning like the lights were flickering and everything was kind of going dark. He kind of
Yeah.
had that
Oh,
sense.
because she brings up I know
His
it, I
father,
know everything about
the
you. And then
father,
as
right?
soon as she said your father, and he's like, no, no,
Yep,
no,
yep,
no. And like that's when it's like
yeah,
like it starts flickering. The building looks like it's like losing power, like you
yeah.
said.
So yeah, then we cut to the, what is it, like an old diner type building. Bucky basically took the four, Yelena, Alexei, Ava, and John kind of hostage, and they're trying to like tell him,
Yeah.
he basically wants all of them, like he sees them as, hey, you guys are assets, you can testify against Val. They're trying to tell him everything that kind of went down in the past like day. And of course it's kind of like a fantastical story. He doesn't believe it at all. And that's when
Yeah.
that's when he gets the phone call from Mel basically confirming everything that they just said. And he just like kind of looks back to him. He's like, Bob. And everybody's like, Bob. So they end up, he ends up letting him go, and they kind of bond together. Again, confirming the quote Thunderbolts that Alexi seems so fond of. And then we
Yeah.
find, yeah, and
Well,
then
during that scene when he's talking to, when he finds out and he receives the phone call, it's from Mel
yeah,
calling from the watchtower. But my issue with that is she makes the phone call in the middle of where everything's going on. She's like, "Oh, let me just pop behind this little tarp over
well,
here
I
and
think
make
it's,
this phone call too." Because then she walks out and Val's just standing right
yeah,
there, and she's like, that's when
I,
she has the discussion about good and bad, right?
loyalty, yeah,
When
that, and
she's
like
like,
kind
"Do
of
you
like
want to?
loyalty,
You either need to be a good person, or what was it?"
do like, it was something about like doing good work and being a good person or something like that. Because she made
Yeah,
the comments like, why can't I be both? Or
yeah. And she
yeah,
said, because I learned that there's bad people and there's worse people,
yeah,
and you sort of get a little taste of Val's reasoning, I guess, behind why she does what she does.
yeah,
Well, especially with that, and just getting that little flashback of
mm-hmm.
her dad getting murdered in front of her. So I mean, maybe in some way or form she knew that, oh, maybe my dad's bad, but there's someone that's worse. It's the
Yeah,
guy that killed him.
yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, we'll we'll talk about it at the end. There's some stuff I want to mention about the movie just in general, but we'll talk about that after the recap. But yeah, like you were saying, they're Bucky unleashes them. They start driving to New York,
Mm-hmm.
which again, real scenes,
Yep, yep,
real New York, real settings. So that was nice to see. They're in the truck, and then they're again talking about the Thunderbolts name,
yep,
about how, yeah, and like
yeah,
you said, they're starting to bond a little bit in the
yeah. And I
truck.
think
They have the
what
little moving van, or
John and Yelena was comparing their guns, right? Like he had like a Desert Eagle
the
or whatever it was.
like, yeah, they're all comparing the weapons that they have
Yeah,
like on them and whatnot.
and they kind of started making fun of him because he wears the quote hat, but it's the Captain America style helmet. And
Yeah.
so you can kind of see it going, and then Alexi and Bucky is in the front, and they're kind of like discussing what kind of super soldier serum they got, and Bucky's like, I don't know, the Hydra, and he's like, oh, like top of the line there. Alexi got like whatever, like I guess
Was
Walmart
it
Timu
the
version.
Russian version? Yeah, the Timu version.
Yeah. But and then they were like talking about we need a plan, and then Bucky's like, a plan, like he's kind of winging it, right? And
Yeah.
that's when they like drive the truck through the
Because
lobby
it
of the
cuts because it cuts
yeah,
immediately from
and
them
it's like,
talking to just
man,
like the lobby itself,
yeah,
and then you just see the
boom.
truck like barrel through.
Classic Winter Soldier.
Yes, I do have an issue with this scene. It's something that I wrote down. So after they crush through, they all jump out and stuff like that, and they're getting shot at by the lobby security and whatnot. Bucky rips the door off of the truck, and he starts using it like a shield.
Yeah,
And the one thing I was just thinking, just watching it, I was like, oh, this is what Bucky's been resorted to, using a door as the shield.
yeah,
It's just where this character was headed, and then they just said nope.
yeah.
But
I
it
mean,
was cool to see him use something in the
yeah.
capacity of the shield, but it just made me want him as Captain America.
I mean, I'm not gonna disagree with that. Like he does in the comics, like Cap is kind of killed at the end of the Civil War comic, and then Bucky does take over the mantle of Captain America. So he does become Captain America before Sam Wilson does. So I was like, that's kind of like seemed where that character arc was going, because that would have been like a that would have been like a what 3 phases of character development for a character, like going from this to this, like, and finally like redeeming himself for everything. Like it would have been a good way for him to redeem himself. Because I mean, what is he going to go by now? Like, is he just going to go back to being the Winter Soldier, or is he just going back to Bucky? I mean, we can talk about that later, but but yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I really think Bucky should have been Captain America, but
yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because it felt like it almost felt like it was like, okay, oh, hey guys, remember when he held the shield and stuff like that, and it felt very like I'm like, yeah, it would have been cool to see him holding the shield, or even if he was holding John Walker's shield,
right?
like if he had used it a little bit and like yeah, give us that. But it was like, really, Cardor, this is what he's relegated to.
I don't know if I would have, because you kind of see them like again fighting as a team, but I don't know if it would have been good right there with it. You know how you can get like those famous Marvel team up like action sequences of like everyone using like
but it could have been like a little scrappy where it's like John looks or something like that, and he just like throws it at him. Like it doesn't have to be set up and staged like
where it's like choreographed,
one of
right?
those
like,
scenes where it's choreographed. It could be more scrappy where it's just like, oh, spur of the moment, like, oh, okay, and then like he just throws it. Sort of like in Civil War at the beginning when Cap jumps into the office and he throws the shield on the ground and it just hits the dude in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Like sort of like that. It's sort of just like, oh, and then like
yeah, because like even the fight in the beginning when what is it? They like threw the knife or something, like Ghost phases, Taskmaster catches it, throws it, like even something, you can see that something like these people are all like enhanced, right? Like, I mean, Yelena may not be like super soldier, but I mean, she's a Red Room assassin that's as bad as peak as human.
Which it's funny you say that, because I'm going to bring something up in a little while.
So, I mean,
but yeah, so they
it would have been nice to have like a little bit of like, hey, they're coming together, but then because you got to have that, and we'll get to that scene in a bit where everything just seems hopeless, right? Like that second act.
Yeah, but like you just said it right now. Like had they had shown that a little bit more right here, and then right at the end they just looking like at each other like, okay, like yeah, we did good. Do you know what I mean? But I get why it didn't happen because of how the scene plays out. It's used as comic
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like,
comic
hey,
relief. It's
the
like,
door was open,
yeah,
But like,
yeah.
if the
Val gets
door,
over the intercom and she's like,
yeah.
what did she say?
Well, well, like, yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly where, but she was just like, I left the door open for you guys. Like, okay, yeah, but you left them. It's like a kill party, like a kill squad came out, right? Is that a welcome?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you left the door open for them, like, they still had to like fight like 10 people that with automatic weapons. But yeah, you left the door open for them. Yeah,
And I
so they
love
go.
that Bucky still headbutts that dude. Like he has him right before she's like, "Come on up." He's just like,
Yep. It's like, nah, no prisoners. Yeah, they take the elevator up, and then that's where they meet Val. Val's giving her like she's actually she's sitting behind, she's standing behind the bar pouring a drink like Tony Stark did when he confronted Loki, talking
yeah.
about how many battles do you think would happen in this very space, and then pretty much she
Oh,
took
that
turns.
that whole area looks so tacky too.
It's going through innovations.
I know, but like just like the scheme with the rock and stuff like that with the bar area, I'm like, this is kind of tacky. But I mean,
But
hey,
yeah,
that's their style.
yeah. Yeah, and then she basically takes turns at all of them, and then she like looks at like Red Guardian, and she's like, "Who are you?" Like, what she call him? Like something like Old Santa, or like who's this?
Yeah,
This
she was like Violent Night.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, she's old Santa or like
something. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and then that's when we get introduced to Bob as the Sentry, and I mean, it looked pretty good. Comic accurate suit. Love to see. I want to. Was this the first Marvel MCU character with a cape?
Ooh. Ooh.
Right? You don't get a lot of capes in Marvel.
Thor,
Yeah, okay,
Vision.
Thor, yeah, Thor, Vision, yeah. Now that you think about it, yeah. But I mean, you don't get a lot of like Marvel characters with capes. Like that's
No, because I feel like that's more DC than
yeah.
anything.
I
Like
mean, Thor
DC
wore his cape.
owns the caves.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
you don't see Thor like fighting in his cape much. But
Um.
Vision, yeah, I'll give you
Yeah.
Vision. At least what for Age of Ultron, I don't think you saw the cape much. Maybe in
Yeah.
Infinity
He
War,
fights in
right?
the
Infinity
cape.
War,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
yeah,
both do. Yeah, they fight in the cape.
yeah, yeah. You're right. I guess it's been a while.
Yeah.
I think it's like I know he didn't
But
really have
you
the
said it's
cape.
comic accurate though.
The Sentry suit, yeah, very very comic accurate. And I
Yeah, because I
honestly
was
like,
looking at it and I was like, yeah, okay, but because it did look very comic-y.
yeah,
Like it looked like something like, someone's like, "Oh, make a suit for a superhero," and then
hmm
this is what they bring you. It's like, okay, like it had that look to it. It
it
didn't
kind
look
of
like the modern superheroes now, where you're like,
what I did
you
like.
know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
they didn't. At least they didn't show it. Is I'm just so glad they didn't use like nanotech or something like from the when they
Yes,
gave like that belt emblem or whatever. Like I thought, oh, he
yes,
was just gonna put that on and the suit would form. I'm
yeah, no,
like
oh,
there is sometimes you can make that like work, right? Like okay, Iron Man with a nano Iron Man suit works perfect. I mean, he's Tony Stark, right?
because
Whatever.
that's the character.
Yeah,
Like
you've
that's what the
seen
character
him
would do.
evolve his suit over 3 phases of movies. I mean, you can
Yeah,
kind of get away with vibranium and Black Panther. I mean, it still looked kind of fake, like it just boom and it was there. Like make it like at
yeah.
least with Iron Man's suit, you saw it like form all the way around. I guess in slow motion. I mean, Quill's helmet, kind of like the first time we saw it, makes sense. Space technology. But then when you get to like Ant Man and just like what was it in Quantumania, the suit just formed in like literally like half a second. You're like, okay, I guess we're just there now, right? Every suit's gonna be right. It's just gonna form around the body.
Hot, hot take. I actually hate the nanotech.
I
I
mean,
hate the
I think
nanotech
it's
suit.
just.
I hate it. Like I didn't even like it for Iron Man and Infinity War.
I mean, I don't.
I
I
get
mean,
why. I get why, but it's the suit up, man. Like
yeah.
the suit up is the best part.
At
It's
least for
like
Iron Man, yeah,
yeah, like hearing the clink, clink, clink,
yeah,
clink. Like all that. And now it's
yeah.
like no, like
I
that's
mean,
all
yeah.
it
Some of
is.
his best suit ups were like. I mean, I still love him falling in Avengers. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably my favorite. I don't really care too much for the Iron Man 3 one when it's just like all. But yeah, I definitely like the one where he's like falling. But I think the Iron Man 2 with the suitcase, that one was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
all of his
but
suit. I
that's what I
mean,
mean. Just like
yeah,
that's the whole thing is like
yeah,
the suit of the nanotech. It's like, okay, it's cool, but like like you said, it was just refreshing to
yeah,
see
yeah. Just
the
you don't even
actual
have to show
thing.
him suit up. Just have him like, just don't show it like. Just have him in the suit. Have him walk into the screen with a suit. Don't have the. I don't know. I guess I'm just tired of the. It just seems like a.
Lazy,
It is
lazy
kind of
writing.
lazy. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if it's lazy. Just don't have him suit up. Just
It's
have him walk in with the suit. You know what I mean? Like,
so it's lazy in the sense that okay, now everyone
yeah, like
has these suits. It's
exactly.
like no, I want to see someone like
Like,
no, like I made my own suit, like to give a throwback to Daredevil, Born Again, Muse,
yeah,
like
like
that, like ooh,
I
ooh,
get
sick
characters
suit.
like Iron Man and Black Panther, probably the wealthiest people in the MCU. I get why they would have that technology. That's why I liked seeing like Spider-Man at the end of No Way Home having that
When you
homemade
see
suit.
the sewing kit and
Yeah,
then
like
or the sewing
that's
machine.
like you don't have to see them suit up, right? Like no one wants to see. I mean, I don't want to see like
Yeah.
the Civil War,
You don't want the opening to Batman Forever,
right? It
Batman
just
and Robin.
nip, bat nip. Yeah, yeah. So like, and then like you see that in Civil War, right? Like they bring in Ant-Man. They're like, all right, and then next thing you see them, they're running on the tarmac, but they're all in suits. They weren't in suits previously, and we didn't see the suit up, but boom, they're in the suit. Just do that. Like I don't need to see the nano suit ups anymore. Like we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she basically, so back to the Sentry coming in. I didn't think Lewis Pullman was that tall. I don't know if she was just that short, but he kind of towered over her. I mean, I
Probably
don't know how.
both.
Yeah,
Little bit of
maybe
both.
he seemed short.
Oh no, there was a little heel in in
Maybe,
those
maybe.
shoes he was wearing
Oh,
too.
I'm sure. Yeah, it might have been.
There was
Uh,
some heel when he was walking down those stairs.
but yeah, I mean, and I mean, he did a great job, like being like a quirky Bob, and then kind of like a seriousness as a Sentry, and then later you see him as
Yeah.
like a terrifying Void. Just, I mean, the range on him. But yeah, anyways, Val kind of unleashes him on the team, saying, I think she said to kill him. So they all kind of like go after him, and as you would suspect, they all get obliterated. Like just absolutely, just not even fair. Like it just wasn't fair at all.
Yeah, now all of a sudden Yelena is super powered because like he picks her up and like throws her on the ceiling.
Yeah, I think she's
Like
on
just like
his
oh
back.
yeah.
Yeah, I think she's on his back trying to do the widow's bite, and
Yeah,
then he
she's like
like, and then yeah, you can kind of see like he was probably holding back because he threw the other ones a lot harder.
oh
Like
yeah.
for sure, Bucky, John, and Red Guardian. I guess he knew they were kind. I don't know how he knew Red Guardian, but probably didn't care about him. But he definitely, probably same with Bucky. But I think he kind of held back with Elena because of the bonding they were doing for the course of throughout the like their escape from that
So
bunker.
so I won't cripple you, but I'll make it hurt.
Yeah, exactly. It's the whole Batman, Daredevil, Spider Man. Like I'm not going to kill you, but your hospital bills will. That's their
Yeah,
whole
and
like.
it's I remember so sitting down and watching that scene, like when we were sitting there, I'm looking at it and like they're literally like throwing everything and it's like nothing. It ain't doing
Nothing.
anything.
Yeah.
Nothing's landing. Um I sat there thinking this guy may be too overpowered.
Oh, 100%.
Too overpowered.
100%.
Um
His introduction, his
especially
kind of reintroduction in the comics is he rips Carnage in half. Like he just shreds him.
oh
Yeah.
nice.
And it's funny because Null rips Sentry in half later in the comics. Just same. Yeah. So that just tells you how powerful Null is.
Jeez.
Way to fumble that one, Sony.
Yeah, we'll never get that on the big screen. But yeah, so they're doing that and then they get relegated back to the elevator, right? They're like, get out of here.
Yeah.
And they're just like, okay, we're done.
So yeah, that's kind of like where you see like that's where I would have liked a little bit of the team up before, because you would have kind of see it again coming together, and then they just get absolutely decimated, right? And then they're like, oh well, no, we just got everything handed to us. So it's you always have that like act 2 where it just kind of like everything seems all lost or whatever,
Yeah.
and then they kind of like
because
go their
Yelena
own
starts
separate
calling
ways.
them all out.
Oh
Like
yeah.
The I didn't write
Right.
it down, but it's that thing she says to Walker.
Yeah, and that was what thing I was alluding to before is like everything was like this, and all of a sudden you just see his face go, and I'm
Yeah,
like thinking
and
that's the
even the audience when we were
yeah,
sitting there, even everyone
like
was like,
ooh,
"Oh,"
yeah, like this is a low
because what did
blow.
she say? She was like, "Oh, like your kid
Something
and your
about like
wife
that's why your
left
wife,
you."
yeah, your wife and kid left you or something like that. Like yeah, it was kind of a low blow. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, and then she like I don't want to say runs off, but like walks off, and then Alexei kind of follows her, and that's kind of where they have their moment. And then I think you see the scene in the trailer where she's kind of emotional, and she's like, "That was a good speech." I mean, he
that
gives her the
so.
whole father
What
daughter
was that?
type thing. Yeah, it's like a more of a what a father would give a daughter.
It's honestly a pretty good
It
scene,
is. It
especially
really
for
is.
Florence. I was wondering if we were gonna get one of those scenes
Yeah.
from her, like we see in her other movies, her A24 movies, that she's done, or just anything else where it showcases her as a really good dramatic
She
actress.
really is.
And especially in this one, I forgot exactly what she says, but yeah, just what she says in the moment, about how she wakes up and she's walking through life and how she feels,
Mhm.
suffocated, and just feels nothing.
Yeah.
And but it's the way that she conveys that to Alexei, and even Alexei, like it's they
Like
actually give
he
him a moment where he's not like, oh, comic relief,
yeah,
goofy, like ridiculousness. It's like no, and they're talking about how you didn't speak to me for a
a year.
year, and I needed you.
And then yeah, he kind of replies saying, "I didn't think you needed me." Like he said like I didn't think you needed me or wanted me or something like that. And then because I think she made the comment about where like he basically says I'm here now. Like I wasn't there then, but I'm here now. And I think that's where like I said mentioned where a lot of these characters they'll get like their comedy beats throughout the movie, but then when I think they do that to set up for when they have that dramatic moment, it hits harder. So like throughout the whole movie, he's comic relief, and then all of a sudden, he needs to hit this one home, and I think he nailed it. And then that's kind of like
Yeah.
that's when you know uh, the void takes over because Sentry kind of turned on Val because Sentry kept calling himself a god.
Yeah,
And
so that
yeah,
scene right there where they're talking, like you said, he in his mind is making the connection of, why would I answer to you? Because Val's like, oh, like you're
yeah,
gonna
you're
do
mine.
this and
Yeah,
that. Yeah, like I'm gonna send you on these missions, and even he's like questioning it, and then his rational thinking, it's sort of like Ultron. When
hmm
Ultron first comes online in Age of Ultron, and he's talking with Jarvis, and he's like, "No, no, give me a second," and
yeah,
he's reading, and he's like, "Oh, that's the issue. I see what it is." And he's like, "No, like you're going like the wrong way about it," which is the same thing that happens.
yeah,
And that's when they're having that conversation, and he says, he's like, "Well, I'm essentially a god.
yeah.
Why would I listen to you?" And that moment when he grabs her, and he throws her like against that beam,
Yeah.
and they're talking and whatnot. It's happening around the same time that they're having that argument down below. So this is
Mm.
what I was talking about earlier about how I kept looking in the background because I was waiting for something to happen. I was waiting for a Departed scene where we're just gonna see
Oh,
Val's
just
body,
boom. Yeah,
yeah, just drop down. Like that's what I was waiting for, because they had already like set the tone with how violent this movie can be
yeah.
and is. So I didn't put it past them that they would have had a scene like that included. So I kept waiting for
Yeah,
that shoe to drop, to where it was like, okay, is she gonna get killed? Like what's gonna happen? Because if anybody's gonna do it, I would think it would be Sentry.
yeah.
But that's when it happens, when Mel shows up with the kill switch, and which is kind of gruesome
Yeah.
when it hits, because it was giving me Mission Impossible 3 vibes with Carrie Russell in
All
the
right, we're
helicopter.
just done.
Yeah, she's like, and then her
Yeah.
eyes all like looking like a dead fish and
Yeah.
whatnot. It's sort of like the same thing. Like, cause you see his eyes, do they go like bloodshot red or something like that?
It's something, yeah. And it's just all of a
Yeah.
sudden just boom. Yeah,
Cause
and
even
then
I was like, ooh, oh man.
yeah. They and that's when they leave the upper level and you kind of see the void taking over because everything on Bob's body is just turning black. So you're like, okay, the void's
Yeah.
forming. So then when Yelena and Lexi finish their speech, you kind of hear the crowd creating a commotion, and then you look up and just see, the Sentry just blacked out, which I thought they did really well. Like it wasn't just like someone just wearing black, like it was literally all blacked out. You kind of see a little
Yeah,
bit of highlights on his face, and then the two pricks of his eyes. Just what's up?
they did really cool on the design. I'm gonna say something. um, is this the first iteration of the use of blackface in the MCU?
uh,
Because that's the vibe I was getting.
I think I wouldn't say I would say no, but like I mean I mean he was literally
uh, uh, I
literally just all
mean,
black, literally just all black.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean it's almost like it was kind of like cut out, right? Like there was no definition on him except just a little bit on his face, like on his cheekbones, right? You kind of see a little
yeah.
definition there, but I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it blackface. It wasn't like black
I mean, I'm
paint.
just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just
Yeah,
putting it out there. Just an observation I made during the movie. I
yeah,
think I was laughing to myself when
yeah.
it
I mean,
happened.
even then, like I wouldn't even call Robert Downey Jr.'s blackface in Tropic Thunder, just because I think blackface is more of
Oh no, because he was a dude playing a dude
yeah,
disguised as another dude,
like
which I
that's
guess
done.
Sentry is in a way.
I think that's kind of done like with the intent of being racist, you know. This definitely was not. At least the Century. I don't know about Tropic Thunder. I don't know what they were thinking. Still a great movie.
Oh, an amazing movie, man.
Yeah.
Amazing movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I had to throw that out there.
yeah. I mean, was it a white dude that's literally like just all like absence of like color? Yes. But again, I mean, he was just like it was just a boy,
It
right?
depends. How would you define?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Let's break down the definition.
I'm sure there's already a rant on it within Twitter or X or whatever. Just like,
Oh, like deep
yeah, yeah,
in Twitter.
just straight like it was more of an absence, right? Just an
Not my
absence
Century.
of yeah, yeah, just an absence of life.
Yeah. But yes, I digress.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, he does look cool as the Void. Like I thought that
yeah.
was a really cool.
The voice was good too.
Oh yeah, like there was range. Like,
Yeah.
and it was, like you said, we get to see Lewis Pullman do three things. He plays Bob, he plays Sentry, and he plays the Void
Hmm.
as well. Three completely different characters, but you see the switch.
Yep.
Like you see that switch, and as I say this, I can't help but wonder if he probably would have been a better choice for Superman, because that's what you
Maybe.
need.
Yeah.
That's what you need, like for Clark Kent to Superman. It's
Yeah.
not just about the look; it's about the attitude. It's about like the appearance.
Well,
But we'll
it's
find out
because
on July
because
11th
yeah
because we
because
haven't seen anything.
it's not like usually like a Peter Parker has to act like Spider-Man. For in Superman's case, it's Kal-El have to acting like Clark. So
Hmm.
it's kind of reversed because I mean Kal-El is his that's him. That's who he is. His identity is Clark Kent. His secret identity is Clark Kent. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, I
for
think
Lewis
this
Pullman.
was definitely a good way to showcase that, though,
Yeah.
is playing those different personalities. And again, Lewis Pullman like knocked it out of the park.
Yep.
with this role. I mean, but he's good in everything he's been
Yeah.
in too. Like
Hopefully, this
he's
puts him more on a map of like people will get to know him, like know him, and like actually get to see him in other stuff. Because yeah, I think he's super underrated.
yeah. I mean, he knocked like I said, he knocked it out of the park with this one. But
Yeah,
anyways, yes, the void,
yeah.
comes
So
out. I didn't really
it's
care for the shadow. I thought the shadow looked
I think
a little cheesy. Like I
I
feel
think
like
they
they
were
could have
trying to
done it a little better.
I think they were trying to go with something that wasn't like turning everybody to ash because
Yeah.
got the blip. So this was kind of like the same but different, and it kind of gave
I,
me like
I think it was
I don't
more
want
how it looked. It was
I
like
don't want to
just
say like Hiroshima type stuff because after that the atomic bomb falls, like that's all you got of
yeah.
people was at least that's what the it kind of
Or
invoked.
something more like Iron Man 3.
Oh, with the
Something like that. Like this one looked
yeah, and it's like essentially
it
the
looked
same.
too much like a computer effect, you know what I mean? Like it looked a
Yeah,
little too like
just
yeah, like I feel like they could have done something a little better with it.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, speaking of, while all that's happening, that's when the destruction
yeah.
starts. We I made sure I wrote it down. We get a falling crane trope. We
Yeah,
got a falling crane. I can't remember the last time I saw a falling crane in a superhero movie, but
yeah.
we
At
got
least
one.
Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, that's
And
probably the more famous one, right? Or you can even go back to the Spider-Man game, the
yeah.
PlayStation 4 game.
Oh, simpler times.
Yeah,
But yeah, we get that. That's when we finally get the chance to see them team. Oh, you know what? We
back
forgot to
together.
mention something. When they're fighting up in the tower, he bends the shield.
Oh yeah. So
He
like
bends the
what?
shield.
John's holding the shield like this, and then Sentry just kind of bends the shield around his John's arm. I think
Yeah.
he even referred to it. He's like, "He turned my shield into a taco."
Yeah. But yeah, around that time, that's when we start getting them like, okay, oh
Coming
man,
back together,
stuff's
yeah.
going down. Like, let's be heroes and stuff like that. So cranes falling, they're doing, saving people.
Saving, yeah.
The lady standing there just watching as a truck's barreling forward towards her. It's an old trope, but it was like, hey, like
Yeah.
it showed that Yelena might be superhuman again with how she landed on top of that car, but she was able to get her out of the way,
Tuck and
and
roll,
then
tuck and roll.
hmm and then Alexi saving that little girl, which I thought it was gonna go dark, like when that thing hit his back,
Oh yeah,
that falling thing, because I thought he was gonna like fall over or something like that.
yeah.
Um,
But it still
which
went dark.
I think that yeah. So yeah, because immediately right after, he saves the little girl. They have moment,
Yeah.
and then boom,
Poof. She
she
gone.
gets yeah, she's gone, and she's a shadow. Was I the only one that was laughing during that scene?
I don't know. I know there are some people that were like shocked, and yeah, it was just like oh,
Yeah,
like was not expect honestly was not expecting that. Again, I thought something was gonna happen to him because I mean I really thought there was gonna be more than one person dying
yeah,
overall,
and
but
it feels like there was supposed to be. It
yeah,
feels like it. It feels like there was supposed to be more. And I think like that rock hitting him, like I think that would have been the perfect way. It
yeah.
was like it was too much. He's always about his strength, his strength, his strength, and then
But I mean
just
that
having that
was
happen, especially after that conversation and moment they
yes,
just had,
exactly,
it would have had more weight and more of an impact
exactly.
on the story, that no matter what, through all of that, you still have to pick yourself up and push yourself through it. And that'll tie into what I'm going to talk about in a little while once we get to the end. um but yeah, so that happens, and then what happens right after that?
Is that's when the void? I mean, they do come together, whatever, and then but the void is starting to spread through the city, and it's just pretty much turning everybody into shadows, like getting absorbed into it. And while all the other members kind of like run, Yelena kind of walks straight into it. Boom, gets turned to shadow. And then she gets sent into the void, and she begins to relive. We see the memory of her luring her friend. Keeps replaying that memory. It's basically just going through her like greatest hits of probably moments she regrets in her life. So it goes through that one, and then there was a scene in the red room where it's a table lined up of girls putting together
The
a
gun.
gun, and she was the fastest, so she got pulled off, and then everybody else got a whip across the hands. I'm like, man, it was brutal.
I so there's two things about that scene. Um, so I want to talk about the scene with the gun and the whipping of the hands. So what I really liked about that scene is when it happens, she walks up to her younger self and she holds her
Yep.
and she hugs her to like shield her from it. I really liked that because it showcases what this movie, like the core message of the movie and the theme of the movie, really encapsulates. But that's what I wanted to see initially from that first part as she enters the void and she's reliving that scene, because the way she gets out of it is all she does is she just breaks through.
Runs from it.
Yeah, she runs from it and gets through and it takes to the next thing, which in a way, I get that that can work, but I really wanted to see her overcome that, especially because they use that scene twice.
Yeah.
They use that scene twice, so you feel like it's coming back for a reason. So instead of her running away from it, I think it would have been more impactful and better to see her healing herself in each of those rooms that she's going through, because this is the part of the movie where it turns into Inception and The Cell. Like
Hmm.
those are the two vibes I was getting more than anything. Um but yeah, like I feel like it would have been more impactful for her to like forgive her younger self or something in that moment. But then they showcase that in the next room once, with the guns and the whip is her, holding herself. And then the scene right after, that's when she ends up in the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
When she's sitting in there with the drinking
Yeah.
and stuff
Basically,
like
just
that.
drank herself silly.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I love that in that scene they have her pour the bottle down her own throat
Hmm.
and stuff like that, like herself that's on there and she's just like forcing herself to drink. Again, it's these scenes are so important because again, this is what's showcasing the theme, because they showcase it like subtly throughout the movie, like at face value, but then this is when they get artistic with it. This is when they're like, I'm going to show you what it looks like to go through these things. And while they show you going through that, they also need to show the overcoming
Hmm.
of that. And I feel like that would have made her character a little bit stronger from that, because they talk about it like that's the whole crux of the story. Like it starts with her, she's depressed. Like
Yeah.
she is depressed, and going through those stages of her getting through those rooms, showing her like accepting it and realizing this is what I need to do in order to get to him. So that way when she finally gets to that room and they're having that moment and they start opening up, which I think is probably it's such a good scene with Lewis Pullman. It's
Hmm.
such a good scene where he's just sitting there, and I love that they put him in the long sleeves. Obviously they probably did it to hide, his 8 pack, because like
Yeah. Yeah.
he's like super ripped in the movie. But I also, the way I was viewing it is because of depression. You're wearing like baggy clothes that doesn't fit you, especially if they were to take the story to a darker place of why people do
Yeah.
wear baggy clothes to cover and hide other things. But I really like that scene where they're just talking with each other in the room, and I like that they use the rooms as a metaphor for it, for thoughts, for bad thoughts or
Yeah.
bad memories. Like it's never you're never once focusing on, especially when you're in that state, you never focus on the good, you go from one bad thought and you start getting better, and then you focus on another bad thought and then another bad thought, because you're not staying present. You're either thinking about the past or you're thinking about the future. So like just having them have that back and forth, and then I like that they look down and you see that little slit in the floor where you
Yeah,
can see
showing the
his
kitchen.
dad. Yeah,
Yeah,
where you see it, which I thought they were going to go a little bit more into that, especially when Val brought up his dad. Like
yeah,
I guess they realized, they were like, we don't want to go too PG-13. We're not trying to go Goodwill Hunting,
yeah. We don't want to
you
go
know.
Moon Knight level, you know.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh man.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
but
mean
even
they.
then, like in that's where he got him being like, because you know how he always said he always made things worse. Like that's how he felt, and he was told that from his mom, even though he was defending his mom from his dad. But then she would always tell him, "You're making it worse." So I
Yeah.
mean, it's a psychological, just
It
yeah,
planted that seed in his mind.
at an early age, yeah.
Yeah.
So then you
And
get, and then he what just kind of bummed his way around, like what do you say, Southeast Asia, like doing this, doing that, like on drugs, and at one point he even said he was on meth.
yeah.
Yeah, which I'm
And
like, okay,
it was all just because he was trying to like find a way out, like
yeah,
something different. And that's when they all bust in, right? They all get to the attic
yeah,
at that point, because then it starts fighting against them, right?
yeah, because they were like
Initially
talking
oh, because
about
they're getting choked
escaping.
out.
Yeah, yeah, they were talking about escaping, and then the room
Yeah.
started fighting, back, and then yeah, they were starting to get choked out, and then that's when Bob was like, just he's like, you can't die here. It's just going to get even more painful, and then that's when everybody else kind of breaks in, and then
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that line too, just like while they're getting choked. Again, like I think that's where they did the best with visually showing what depression feels like.
yeah,
And that feeling of the suffocation.
hmm,
The suffocating feeling, like he said, you're not gonna die here. It's just gonna get worse.
yeah. It's like
And it's just
it's your own thoughts is what's pretty
strangling
much
you.
killing. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah. And then
but
like you said, that's when they break in, and then what I don't remember what Alexi says, but what does he say about the thing? Something about Ghost, not the character Ghost,
oh,
but I thought he said something about the haunted. I don't remember, but
I
it's
don't.
like
Yeah,
it's a real blink and you miss it line, but it was funny.
yeah,
And then is that when she says, "Take me to the darkest room," right?
yeah. Pretty much, and then they kind of fight their way through several ones. That's when you find out like he when
That's when it turns
he
into a Charlie Kaufman movie. It turns
yeah,
into being John Malkovich, like real
because what is
quick.
it? They go down into the kitchen where his his dad was, and I can't remember who
I think
punched
it's
the dad.
is it
I
Bucky
want to say it was
or
either Bucky or
John?
John. Yeah, one of them punches the dad. I think it was John because I know Bucky punched as the chicken because he made a line that he was
I was
he
on
was this
math.
yeah he was a sign
Sun
twirler,
spinner.
yeah, sign spinner, and then you see that scene and he was just like going crazy and basically hitting everybody with that sign. And I think Alessi said if he hits me with that sign one more time, and of course he gets hit with the sign, and then that's when I think it was Bucky just with his arm just boom just punches him out. And then they escape into a was it is it the final room they escaped to?
I
Or
believe
was there
it's the
one more
final
room?
room. I
Yeah,
think it was the final room.
and it's
Um,
the lab in what was it, Malaysia, the one that Yelena blew up in the beginning of the movie,
yeah.
and then that they get into that room, and then you see Bob's it's Bob as the voice sitting on a like kind of like a gurt like a table, you
Yeah,
know,
which you don't
and
realize because you think it's just the memory and
yeah,
that's all it is. And then when it moves, that's when you realize, oh,
yeah, yeah, and then that's kind of like the void basically kind of like traps or like locks everybody else up against the wall. I think John takes a metal shard to the shoulder.
yeah, that like puts him
Yeah.
into the
And then it was basically just a Bob versus Void fight after that, and to see which one was gonna take over. I think after the Void started like actually choking Yelena with something else, that's when kind of Bob gets the upper hand and just starts wailing on him. But then as he's doing that, you see the void kind of consuming Bob, and then Yelena thinking like, hey, that's what he wants. She ends up kind of getting free thanks to Alessi helping to push off the whatever that was holding him, and then she's doing some like acrobatic, whatever through some
Doing some
gymnastics,
Inception,
yeah,
Joseph Gordon-Levitt
some
jumping.
craziness, and then that's when she like grabs onto Bob, saying, you're not alone. We're here, and then everybody else starts to break free, and that's when they
Dude,
all
I
just kind of
love
like,
that scene.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, because yeah, I mean,
that's what I mean about Lewis Pullman, dude. Like that emotion right there. That was like Andrew Garfield,
mhm,
Charlie Cox level of like when you
just the
see it on his
range
face,
on his face.
it's the anger, it's the sadness, it's everything because he's trying to beat
Yeah,
the thing, and it's realizing that you can't do it by yourself and that you're not alone because it's telling him it's like you're gonna be alone forever and all you have is me. And
yeah,
she's just that like grabbing that she does of him, it's like that consoling, like that please hold on, like don't let go and don't give up.
yeah. It's
And
kind of like a metaphor for like what, like a therapy group. Like you're going through your stuff, but everybody else is also going through it. And it's because you're there with other people, you know you can kind of get through it. And that's kind of like what I mean. Everybody on that team was going through something, but as one, they can all persevere.
yeah,
So I thought it was really good. And then
and it didn't feel ham-fisted either too, and
no,
I think it's because of how they illustrate, like I said, it's the illustration of depression,
mhm.
and it's how they did it. They did it in such a way that it didn't feel ham-fisted, it didn't feel fake, it didn't feel
it
like,
didn't.
oh,
It
it's
wasn't
cheesy, like
preachy
eye
either.
rolling.
Like
Yeah, it was like they looked at it and they saw, because they went with him through the journey and they also had to face their own things. Like we didn't see it, but we know that they had to go through it and they realized he was the
yeah,
one.
but I think it works because I mean, we see these characters like in previous titles going through like their own stuff, right? So then
Yeah.
we know it, and then when it's finally coming at them, like we want to see them overcome. And I think that's going into this movie. When we did our predictions, like I kind of felt like this had an opportunity to be like a Guardians of the Galaxy type outcast coming together, right? Because they need each other. Like
Yeah.
separately, they were kind of lost, and together, you find that family type, right, right. And I think that's what it was like. And you can honestly thank Val for that, right? Um,
Yeah.
in a
In
weird
a
way.
messed up way.
But yeah, I mean, again, you have these broken individuals that went through all their turmoil throughout their life coming together and essentially saving New York. Because
Yeah.
once they pull Bob off, everything they end up waking up, and they're on the streets of New York. They all stand up and they kind of see the void receding, and everybody's starting to pop back up from their shadows. Of course, Bob didn't remember anything. I guess his memory got wiped or whatever it was, which again, I mean, he's what I don't really know the medical term. Like I would say what, schizophrenic maybe. I don't know, something. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's something, right? Um, I think in the
Definitely
comics he
multiple
might be.
personality,
Yeah, I
maybe.
think in the comics he might be like borderline schizophrenic or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Dissociative identity
yeah. And
disorder,
then
maybe.
so the whole
Well,
group is
but we
what?
also get the little girl back. The
Oh, the
little
girl
girl
came back.
does come
Yep.
back.
And the
So
mom and her mom comes back in.
yes, I have a question though about the little girl.
Yes.
So this event that happened to her,
Oh yeah.
is this her new void? Because you know how they had to go through all that stuff. So did this
Oh.
just create
So I want
something
to
for
know.
her?
I want to know of the people who like survived the Battle of New York, survived the blip, and then they get voided out. You know what I mean? Like, or they didn't survive the blip, they got blipped, and they also got voided. Like, just move out of New York. That's not going to save you from the blip, but
And did the void hit Hell's Kitchen?
yes, I don't think it hit Queens though. My New York geography is not. I think the entire is that Manhattan. is that the whole thing in Manhattan? I'm not sure. Again, my New York geography is not the greatest. I think how they came down. I think that was the financial district. I believe Jersey might be over here. Brooklyn and Queens is on this side. So I
So
think
Miss
Brooklyn.
Marvel and Peter just hanging out over here
I mean,
watching it all
it.
happen.
I don't know where. I mean, Peter. I don't know where Peter's living now. He could be in an apartment in New York. So, I mean, maybe they'll touch up on it that he got voided, or maybe he was. Maybe he was swinging by in Queens or Brooklyn, hanging out with Miles. I don't know. But it's also weird that that Bucky's a congressman for Brooklyn, where Miles is from.
True,
Yeah,
true.
but is Bucky a congressman any longer? Because as everything gets turned to normal, they the Thunderbolts see Val, basically on her cell phone trying to. What I think she was trying to add. She was asking for an evac or something. I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah, because she's trying to get out of there. She's
yeah,
like,
everybody noticed her, and everybody was like, you know what, we're gonna go kill her, and they all started marching. I think Yelena was the only one, or no, Bucky was like, well, we can't kill her because we're gonna try and arrest her. She ends up like kind of ducking behind a tarp, and then the Thunderbolts come in, and all of a sudden, boom, right in front of a giant press crowd because she wanted a. Originally, she was called the press to show off the century. However, the opportunist that she is, kind of saw it in another way. She like, this team just saved New York, and she announced the new Avengers. Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
They know this is
We're
a
gonna
spoiler.
yeah, I know, but we're still gonna spoil alert it again. So turn back now at your own risk. We warned
No,
you
they know it's a
again.
spoiler.
So as you were.
I mean, if they were already here, the movie got spoiled. The entire thing, the entire movie got spoiled. But yes, they come in, uh, and then she announces to the press and to the world that the current group that was standing them of Yelena, Bucky, Alex, Red Guardian, Ghost, Bob. Did I miss one? Oh, that was it, right?
John Walker.
John Walker, U.S. agent, has now become the new Avengers. And then, Yelena walks up, and I mean, I knew this was gonna. I mean, my prediction was it was gonna be a post-credit scene of them being the new Avengers, but I thought Sam would be involved, which we'll get there in a minute. But yeah, and then that's when Yelena walks up to Val and whispers in her ears, saying, "We own you," because if they testify,
Yep.
she's a goner. So, and that's where the movie ends. You get some credit scenes of like newspaper headlines about are they the
My
real
favorite
Avengers?
one?
The
Not
B
my
Avengers,
Avengers.
not my Avengers. The B Avengers instead of Avengers.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was
And
I
then
thought I liked it because then it kind of showed like questionable, right? Like, are we accepting them? And then it kind of like started gravitating towards okay, maybe they're not so bad because you had like Yelena doing the Rosie the Riveter, John with an enlarged shield like a saddle that he was riding
folded.
because it was folded. Yeah, and then I think they reenacted the what was it? Old George Washington painting crossing the Delaware or something. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, it's a very famous painting. But yeah.
And then
That's how the
what
movie
song does it
ends.
immediately cut to?
Man, I don't remember, but isn't the same song from the trailer?
Yep, it cuts to
Yeah.
Starships. Nothing's gonna stop us now. Which, again, if you haven't seen our Daredevil recap, I need to ask what is it right now with Starship? Is there an anniversary coming up? Like
It's
they really
probably
put a lot of stock in it right now.
I don't know. It's probably the only rights Disney has to anything right now for music wise.
Between we built this city on rock and roll and this, I was like, man, they're really putting a lot of stock in Starship right now. But yeah, and then the credits continue. I did catch one thing during the credits: shot in Utah. So
yeah, I did see that.
that was cool to see that. And then, if you want to continue, I'll let you discuss the after credits scene.
I think let's we'll save that. We'll save the we'll save that. We can just go into our
You want to sit?
thoughts. Let's save
Okay.
the
So
separate. Yeah, yeah.
the only reason why I ask if you want to do it is because it ties into my thoughts about how I felt about the movie. So we can save
The
it.
mid
We can
credits or the post credits?
the post credits.
I mean, I don't know if that scene necessarily should affect the overall movie, though, right? Because in my opinion, it's kind
For
of
me, it
separate.
did. For
How?
me, it did. So yeah, that's why I'm asking. Do you want to discuss it? Because we can. If not, we can save it for a separate video.
I mean,
Or what I'll
I'm
do is I can talk about it without talking about
I suppose. I
it.
mean,
It's
just
so
so. What did you think overall of the movie from opening to beginning of the credits?
opening to the beginning of the credits. It was actually pretty entertaining. Um, there was something I got a feeling during the movie because I was trying to, when you try to find like the feel of the movie, like the vibe of the movie, like what is this movie, or does it remind you of anything? Um, Definitely the A24 vibe. I get what they meant now.
Mm-hmm.
After watching it, and what I mean by that is more of the actual tone and the seriousness of those more serious scenes, like the more dramatic scenes where they talk about depression, they talk about what's going on. Ultimately, this movie, like I said a little while ago, it's depression the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want to take it even further, this whole phase is the depression phase. Had the cosmic phase, this is the depression phase. Starting with WandaVision, going all
Yeah,
the way up to now, like every single thing has been about some
you can say
form.
grief, right? Some kind of
Yeah, the
yeah,
the grief the
a
grief
mental, a
saga.
mental, a mental
Yeah.
illness. Yeah,
Yeah, mental illness, anguish, depression, like, and trying to overcome that.
yeah,
Um, like I said, there are some things that I felt they could have done better with that. I think they did good at illustrating it. I would have liked to have seen it a little more with working on it. Like I just said a little while ago with Yelena in the first room, which is, and I feel like they kept showing that so much. I wanted more from it than, okay, let me just bust through the wall and then let me overcome that one, and then I'll overcome the next one. Like it would have been cool to see her, I have to face this. Like I
yeah,
have to face my past and come to terms with it. So, like I said, overall I enjoyed the movie. It And I said it before in our final predictions, I have no idea what this movie was going to be. I had
yeah.
no idea because the trailer doesn't really tell us much. The tone felt all over the place. I don't feel like the trailers did the movie justice
No,
because this movie's different. There's a lot of 80s references, like we talked about the Terminator, or I guess 80s 90s references. The whole Bucky with the Terminator 2
yeah,
with the gun. I know we both looked at each other. We're like, ah.
yeah. I mean, even when you saw in the trailer, like, yeah, he's going full Terminator.
Yeah. See, and
Yeah,
I didn't see that in the trailer because I stayed away from a
yeah,
majority of the stuff. I only saw the one trailer. Everything else, I was like, I just want to watch the movie. Um, I don't know. Like I said, there was also a different feel to it. I don't know how to describe the feeling though of the movie. The closest thing I can think of is like I feel like this is a movie I would have watched on a bootleg
mm.
back in the day. Like it has that sort of feeling
Yeah. I can
with the
kind of,
movie.
yeah,
Like
I can kind of
you know
see
what I
that.
you know what I mean? Like an early 2000s,
Yeah,
mid 2000s feel
yeah,
to it. Like that's what it
mm.
felt more like. And I think what helped it is the 2 hour runtime. Like we did not need this to be 2.5 hour,
No,
3 hour movie. Like this was perfect and actually felt pretty long for a 2 hour movie, but it's because I feel like the story actually moves
yeah,
through it. So it felt like an actual movie. And I was entertained. Like I said, I was taking notes throughout. There were points where I was laughing. Um, More than anything, I just really liked the serious parts. I really enjoyed those. It gave them stuff to do. And yeah. So from the beginning to credits, that's how I felt about the movie.
Yeah.
How about
Well, I
you?
mean, I saw, I saw like some of the, trailer, the TV clips, right? People calling like this movie the best movie since Endgame. I don't, I don't care like people's opinions, right? I probably would slot it in a top 3 best movie since Endgame. Um, just from a personal standpoint, like I still have like No Way Home and Guardians 3 above them, just because one, Spider
Yeah.
Man's my favorite, and Guardians 3, I just loved what they did with Rocket. I mean, I really felt that. But I mean, I really enjoyed this from start to finish. Again, this movie took probably again characters outside of Bucky, characters probably for me. No, I didn't really care too much about. I mean, I cared about them because of how the actors portrayed them. But again, no one did any kind of service to these characters beforehand going into it. Like maybe Yelena, right? But again, that's mostly in part because Florence Pugh is just so good and like charming. But they
Yeah.
took all these characters that probably was just like these are just like the broken toys in the toy box, right? And they're just like, let's put them together in a movie. And I think for the most part, I got everything I wanted out of this movie and more, because you just take all these characters, provide them with good writing, good dialogue, a good story, and then just let them kind of just go, balls to the wall and just go at it, right? And that's what we got. And I think just the pacing on it was great, and I love the emotional beats, because again, you don't expect that from these kinds of characters. You don't expect, a C-list character to be so like, three dimensional. And I liked within the how they wrote some of these like background bits, because it's kind of one thing to just throw in like some a flashback scene, right? That's kind of forced, but here it kind of makes sense, and it's foreshadowing to what we're going to get later. So you include, just touching Bob, and you see maybe one of your worst memories or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be your worst, but definitely a moment where you probably regret, right? And we got that
Yeah.
with Yelena, then we got that with John Walker. Later we get it with Val. I I don't. I mean, we didn't need anything with Bucky, because we know everything about Bucky, and that's what Bucky was going through with the Falcon and Winter Soldier. We saw that. Maybe we could have got something with Ava, maybe a little bit more than what we got from Ant-Man and the Wasp, because I felt like that was still maybe the one character that could be developed a little bit more. Because I mean, Bucky, we've had Bucky since what, 2011
The
Captain America.
Inception.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, I loved how they did that. They included these background scenes that add depth to these characters. It didn't feel forced, because again, it's foreshadowing of what they're going to have to overcome later. It was just a small little sample. And I think that's that's just like good writing on. I don't know who the writer was. I don't know if it was written and
So
directed.
I actually looked up the writers just because I was curious too, and they actually, it was two writers. It was Eric Pearson and Joanna Callow. So Eric has been with Marvel for a while. He wrote Black Widow. He wrote Thor Ragnarok. He was an executive on Agent Carter. He did the screenplay for the Marvel one shots.
Okay.
So, and he was a script doctor for Endgame, Infinity War, Homecoming, Ant-Man. So I mean, he's definitely
That's
done
pretty good
some
track
stuff.
record. I mean,
Yeah,
I
and
would
then
say
Joe.
like the
What's up?
weakest link on that one would be Black Widow, but I mean, again, that's a movie that was.
He also did Godzilla versus Kong. So, but the second writer, Joanna Callow, she is actually an executive producer for The Bear.
Makes
It looks
sense.
like she's written some of The Bear. She wrote Beef.
Okay,
That
I
show was
did
on
see Beef,
Netflix,
but I heard that was a good show.
and she
The
was
Bear is
also a
amazing.
writer on BoJack Horseman.
Okay, and the
So,
Bear is
so
amazing.
you want to talk about depression?
Yeah,
Like, I'm like,
I mean, have you seen the Bear?
no, I still haven't.
Oh man, that show, yeah. I mean, I can see how that's a good pairing of writers. Like you have one that's gonna probably hit all those emotional beats, and then the other one can fine tune. I don't know. Yeah,
Can write
that's
the
a good
Marvel
pair.
part of it.
Yeah, exactly. The guy who's the continuity guy, right? Like, hey, this is where these characters are at. But
Yeah.
yeah, that yeah,
Honestly,
because
I would rather see them direct, at least write or help write
something,
um the two upcoming movies
right? Something. I mean,
because
they should definitely bring them back for something else. Like, even if it's just another Thunderbolts movie or New Avengers. But
yeah.
uh,
Wink wink.
yeah, I hated the new logo. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have anything more to say. I just it was to me, it was definitely fun, entertaining. You know, you laugh. You're gonna feel if you obviously live, you're gonna feel some of what just a little. I mean, you're obviously not gonna have their same experiences, right? Like you're not. I'm sure you're not a mercenary, but just the overall bare basic, right? Like I said, depression kind of is a main part of it. Just any kind of maybe mental thing, like everybody everybody's going through something, right? Like we don't know what everybody's going through, right? Like everybody's walking their own kind of thing. But again, you're never. I'm not gonna say you would never, but your best support is finding support within others, and that I think this movie really showcases that. And it's not in a preachy way. It's not in a kind of like an infomercial or whatever. They're not preaching at you. They're
Yeah.
they're just like, here's a movie. It's fun. It's entertaining. But yes, it's also going to hit you. And maybe it's going to have like an emotional beat to it. So I mean, yeah. Again, I I got nothing else more to say. I mean, it was a really good movie. I think it's a really well written, well acted, well constructed movie, start to finish. If like I said, I might be coming off of it just because we just saw it, but I mean, it's definitely going to be top five since Endgame. I mean, Shang-Chi was still good, but I mean, I don't know if I could slot it higher than Spider-Man or Guardians 3, but this definitely is definitely a good movie and one to go see in IMAX.
Yeah. I agree with you definitely on the IMAX portion. Top 3, still like you said, Spider-Man and Guardians I would say above.
Yeah.
Above just because of the way those stories are told and the stories themselves. But I mean, yeah, if it came down to 3, I mean, it would definitely be third place
Yeah.
because I feel like there's still stuff in here that can be improved on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so out of 10, what do you give this movie?
Oh man, do I have to go by point fives?
You can do 0.5s.
I was gonna
0.5s will
say
be allowed.
I was gonna say like maybe an 8.7 because I feel like it's better than an 8.5, but not quite a 9. If that makes sense,
No, I get that.
right?
I get
Like
that.
yeah, because I try to reserve like I'm probably like liberal with how I grade stuff because like I said I try to find enjoyment even in the worst
Yeah.
things. Like I could go watch like Love and Thunder and still find things I liked, right? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's 8.7 maybe. I mean, we'll eventually rank everything, right? Like where everything
Yeah. Oh,
sits,
yeah. Yeah. Right now is
right?
just,
Yeah.
this is us
If I'm
straight
throwing
out.
something
Like,
out,
this is what
like
we
yeah,
feel at this moment right now.
8.7. Because even then, when you rank something like 1 to whatever number we're at in the MCU now, like 40, like even
Yeah.
then, like if I rank something last, like I off the top of my head, I wouldn't know what it would be. I would still be able to like talk some good things about it.
Yeah.
But I 8.7. I'm confident with an 8.7.
All right. 0.7's good.
And I like Bucky.
Biased. Biased.
Sebastian Stan.
So out of 10, um, like I said, there's a lot to like about this movie. There's a lot that can be improved on as well. If I had to give it, and again, I'm going to preface this from the beginning of the movie to the credits.
The start of the credits.
the start of the credits, to get very specific, the start of the credits. Um, I would probably give this movie a 7.
7. Okay.
Yeah, 7.5 if I'm
There we
being
go.
generous.
All right.
But yeah, I mean that's where it fell for me. Like I said, it was an entertaining movie. It entertained me,
Mm.
which was a good thing. And it, now that we've talked about it, I actually kind of want to go see it again. And I haven't felt that for a Marvel movie in a long time, or just like any
I,
Marvel property
I think the
later
last one I
lately.
saw twice was
Guardians,
Guardians. Yeah.
yeah, because everything else has just been so not even subpar. It's just been we
Yeah.
deserve more as an audience, and especially part of the fan base.
Hmm.
We're not asking for a lot. We're not asking, give me the world. It's like, no, give me a decent script, give me some great acting, and let me disappear into this world. Let me feel for this character. Let me learn who this character is. And I feel like they do a good job in this one. You do learn a lot. You are right on Ghost, which speaking of, that was something I wanted to bring up. How does Hannah John Kamen get the with
Oh, right.
Hannah
Yeah.
John? She's not even included with the
Yeah. Yeah.
cast.
Yeah. I know because
Like
it would.
Olga gets
Yeah.
higher billing, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
I would think Olga would
I
get
would
the
have
with.
with, yeah, because I don't know how they do that, honestly, because I know Samuel L.
Yeah,
Jackson always gets that, like it towards the bottom of it. I don't know how billing works in Hollywood, but I thought it was kind of weird because I mean, I get who was it? It was with I know they did Julia Louis Dreyfus, and then
was the last, and then
the
with
last
was
one,
Hannah John Kamen.
and then there was another one, but I don't remember who it was.
Uh, I don't remember. I thought it was just the
Was it
two
was
of
it
them.
was it Harbor? Maybe it was Harbor.
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah, I would get those two right, like Harbor and then like Julia, right? But
Yeah, Julia Louis Dreyfus.
that one was weird, like because I saw Florence Pugh, then it went to Sebastian Stan, and I think it went to Wyatt Russell, and then I think Olga, and I'm like, okay. I was like, did was Hannah John Kamen before Sebastian? Which to me, I would have been like a sin for me because I mean Sebastian's been here
Yeah.
since the beginnings, but I
Or
was
if
just like,
anything, he gets the with.
yeah,
You
or
know what I
something
mean?
like
Or
that.
if
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because the way I've always viewed the with and the and is it's more like this is the person that's going to deliver crucial information, or that's a crux that they
yeah.
come in
They're
like later
supporting,
on in
but
the story.
yes,
Yeah, like they're like very supporting, where it's like this is a walk on, walk off role.
yeah.
Like real quick, I'm only going to be peppered in every now and then. Um, but yeah, that's the one thing I forgot to mention during the credits is I was like I found that interesting. I was like,
Yeah.
I would just put them all like up
'Cause, I mean,
there, like
she's
one
not
after
like,
the other.
yeah, she's not well known to like the common fan.
Yeah,
Like,
well, yeah, to where it's like, oh, here's a walk on roll.
yeah,
It's like, no, she's
people,
part of the crew. Like
like
she's
it should have been. She probably should have been like fourth after Wyatt Russell, in my opinion.
yeah, if anything, because I mean they have so much screen time.
Yeah,
That's like,
because yeah,
yeah.
but
Um, but yeah, like I said,
well, we can
without talking
wrap.
too much about
Yeah,
the after credit scene.
yeah, we can wrap
Um,
this up and then talk about that if you want.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I have nothing else to say on this
yeah,
end about this. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I did, and I forgot it already. Oh yeah, the other thing I forgot to mention was you know how like what I did like about this is they brought the scale down a little bit, right? It wasn't like a universe or a multiversal, threat. I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah,
centuries of insanely powerful being, right? But it was I don't want to say just New York, but it was New York, but it was mostly psychological, right? It was kind of just in Bob's kind of head. Like, but they brought
yeah,
the scale
and it
down.
felt
It wasn't,
isolated
yeah,
almost.
it wasn't, again, like the Marvels being a trying to breach the multiverse or whatever it was that they were trying to do, like with the
Yeah,
quantum bands. It wasn't, Deadpool and Wolverine, which again was destroying a whole universe. It was just a story. Like, yeah, it was a city, potentially the world, but it didn't feel like it was going to escalate. Like I can't really
Yeah,
explain it,
like
but
we
the
didn't cut to
scale.
Singapore and then the
Yeah,
voids taking
yeah,
over
yeah. It
that, and then we
was,
cut to Paris and then the voids taking over. It's
yeah,
just isolated,
it was just,
a
yeah,
city.
yeah.
Like
So I
that's all we need. Low
felt like
stakes.
they brought, yeah, I felt like they brought the stakes down a little bit, and I did like that. I thought it actually helped out because, again, a lot of these, they're not, yeah, they're super soldiers, but they're not Thor, right? They're not the Hulk or Iron Man, right? They're super
Yeah.
soldiers, sure, but they're street level, but slightly above.
And the
That
fight
makes
itself literally just takes place right outside the building.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's the final battle is like
yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
And yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean that
So,
was
so
another thing I wanted to
it's
add.
more like a street fight, if any, like a bum
Yeah,
fight.
yeah. But yeah, that was one of the other things I forgot to add. But yeah,
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, I mean, I guess for now that wraps up our review and discussion of Thunderbolts. We are going to be discussing the after credits scene, separate video. Be sure to check that out as well as our other content. We have the full recap on Daredevil Born Again, all 9 episodes. We also have some trailer reactions, our final predictions for Thunderbolts, which
yep.
definitely recommend checking that out as well.
Watch that,
And
then watch this, and see what we got right, what we got wrong. I think we did a pretty good job, like kind of guessing where the movie was going to go, and some things were a little out of it, but I think for the most part we were, I wouldn't say spot on, but we had a general idea. We were in the ballpark.
yeah,
We
we're
hit the
just trying
pool.
to save the MCU, y'all. We're trying to save
Yeah,
it.
we hit the pool. We just didn't hit the deep end. Yeah.
But yeah, and like Robert always says, leave some comments, leave a
Yep.
like, subscribe, get
Make
in on
fun
the
of me. I don't
conversation.
care.
Yeah. We want to hear from y'all. So, until next time, we'll see y'all later.